News when you want it with Bloomberg News Now. I'm Nathan Hager.
And I'm Karen Moskow.
Karen, we begin this morning with the latest on the war in Ukraine. President Donald Trump is expected to speak today with Russia's Vladimir Putin. The U.S. is pressing for Russia to agree to a 30-day ceasefire that Ukraine has said it's ready to accept. However, Putin has insisted on a number of conditions before committing to any truce. Speaking to reporters, President Trump sounded a positive note on the prospects for the call.
It's a bad situation in Russia, and it's a bad situation in Ukraine. What's happening in Ukraine is not good, but we're going to see if we can work a peace agreement, a ceasefire and peace, and I think we'll be able to do it.
The news website Semaphore is reporting that the White House is considering recognizing Crimea as Russian territory in a future agreement.
Well, Nathan, Trump has already sparked concerns that he may sacrifice Kyiv's interests in a deal after his comments over the weekend that the U.S. and Moscow are already talking about, quote, dividing up certain assets. Julie Norman is a professor at University College London.
Obviously, there's this discussion now of a 30-day ceasefire. Ukraine has agreed to it. Putin has not said no, but has certainly said there are going to be major conditions and things he wants to discuss. We heard from Trump's envoy over the weekend that they're moving closer to some kinds of agreement. But I think what's really going to be on the table is what does Putin actually want and how willing is Trump to essentially give it to him.
University College London professor Julie Norman. European leaders have made no secret of their concern that Trump may concede on points that could weaken both Ukraine and Europe's security in a one-on-one exchange with Putin.
And along with that exchange, Karen, President Trump says Chinese President Xi Jinping will visit Washington in the not-too-distant future. The Wall Street Journal has reported U.S. and Chinese officials are discussing a possible birthday summit between the two leaders in June. Talks are currently stuck at low levels. China has said it hasn't gotten clear steps on what to do about fentanyl to have tariffs lifted.
Well, Nathan, we have new developments in the war in the Middle East. Israel has launched a series of airstrikes on Gaza, effectively ending a nearly 2-month ceasefire. Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu says his government will go after Hamas with increasing military strength for failing to release the remaining hostages. We get more from Bloomberg's Dan Williams in Jerusalem.
Really, this resumption of fighting was just a matter of time. There may be an element of tactical surprise here. Indeed, Israeli public opinion was largely diverted in recent hours by internal discussions about the fate of Israel's Shin Bet security chief, his termination. It could be that discussion was actually meant to provide a smokescreen for the resumption of these Israeli attacks.
Bloomberg's Dan Williams reports Hamas still holds about 60 Israeli hostages. Hamas says more than 300 people have been killed or are missing in the airstrikes. And
the rising tensions in the Middle East have oil on the rise for a third straight day, Karen. Right now, NYMEX crude is up 1.2%, trading at $68.41 per barrel. As for equity markets, futures are modestly lower after 2 straight days of gains on Wall Street. More than 90% of the companies in the S&P 500 rose yesterday. Phil Orlando is chief equity market strategist at Federated Hermes.
If you're a long-term investor, I couldn't disagree with you starting to nibble here, but in terms of getting an all-out full-blown market capitulation signal, I don't know that we're quite there just yet.
And Federated Hermes equity strategist Phil Orlando notes the Magnificent Seven did not participate in the comeback. A gauge of those mega caps fell 1.1%.
Well, Nathan, one of the Mag 7 will be in focus today. NVIDIA CEO Jensen Huang is expected to unveil more about the firm's next-generation AI chips at its annual developers conference. And Bloomberg's Tom Busby has more.
At today's annual GPU Technology Conference, CEO Huang is expected to update developers, shareholders, analysts, employees, and others on the company's next-generation Blackwell Ultra AI chip, promising in February, quote, some really exciting things to share. Also expected comments on gross margins, China, competitors, and growth. Now, this address comes at a critical time for NVIDIA, which has seen its share price fall about 11% so far this year, amid fears that the AI boom may have peaked, at least for now. Tom Busby, Bloomberg Radio.
All right, Tom, thanks. In other tech news this morning, Bloomberg News has learned Alphabet's in talks to purchase cloud security company Wiz for $33 billion. The deal would be the Google parent's largest acquisition to date and could help it catch up with Microsoft and Amazon in the competitive cloud computing market.
Well, in Asia, Nathan, consumer sentiment on the rise in China. In a new survey by Deutsche Bank, 54% of respondents say they feel financially better off than a year ago. That's up from 44% on average in 2024. 60% of respondents anticipate an income increase in the year ahead.
Well, back here in the U.S., Karen, federal agencies say they've fired nearly 25,000 probationary employees since Inauguration Day. Let's get the latest on that with Bloomberg's John Tucker. John.
Yeah, good morning, Nathan. These figures actually come from the Trump administration after they were demanded by a judge. It's the fullest accounting yet of cuts in the federal workforce. The Treasury Department fired the largest percent of its workforce at 7%. That's about 7,600 employees. Agriculture fired 6% of its employees. The abrupt firings led to lawsuits in California and Maryland, and judges ordered a slew of agencies to temporarily reinstate the employees. The Trump administration is appealing those rulings. I'm John Tucker, Bloomberg Radio.
And that's news when you want it with Bloomberg News Now. I'm Karen Moskow.
I'm Nathan Hager, and this is Bloomberg.